Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. Today's topic is shiitake mushrooms. These were grown on oak logs, and Jan and I just got through cutting another 2 buckets tonight. Over the last week, we've probably cut way over 100 pounds. It's been extremely dry here, and we got 1 3/4 inches of rain about a week ago, and when we did, the logs started pinning, putting out these little tiny mushrooms about as big as my fingernail. Well, when they're that size, literally within 24 hours, they can get to like that. So they don't wait on you. I mean, when you see them coming, you better be watching them, and that's another reason. I mean, look at this. That's all one cluster. That all came out of one. There's 4.
Here, open up your hand and play.
Yep, there's 4 on just, that was one hole in one oak log. Here's a double that came out. That's out of one hole. And so these would have been inoculated in February, and so we're producing fruit in the first, you might say 7 months, 7 to 8 months later, you've got fruit. So you've got to inoculate logs in the wintertime for best production. When the leaves are off the tree, you go out and you cut the limb wood. You don't use the trunks, you use the limbs. The limbs is where the sapwood is. That's where all the food is for these things grow. And you can go back to some of our earlier videos. We actually talk about actually doing it. We've got a mushroom table set up out here. But what's really interesting is Jen and I were talking tonight as we're cutting these. We've never seen them this prolific for this long of a period, this many. The refrigerator's full. Jan has been drying them. That's the nice thing about mushrooms. If you get too many of them, you can put them in a food dryer, or you can set them outside on a table if you get a good hot sun. They actually, the purists say that's the best way to do it, is outside in real sunlight. But we've got a lot of mushrooms. We got 2 big dryers, and so we can dry a lot of it. And these are sold by dry weight. So you can put that dried mushroom in water, and it'll go back to its original size within, what, Jan, 5 minutes? Not even that long.
About 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes. So one of the things that has really blown us out of the water, though, is a lot of these mushrooms are growing on logs that we discarded. In other words, they were so old that they were falling apart. And so we took the old logs and just stacked them like this, log cabin style, away from the patch, still in the shade of the trees. We just kind of got rid of them to make room for our new ones. These things started pinning, and we started looking at the old logs, and they're just cranking. They're cranking out mushrooms. And these are logs that there's no bark left on them. A lot of them, the bark's all actually falling off. So a real learning moment for us has been, when those logs get old, don't think they're done. Put them off the side where they're not in the way. You can put your new ones up. We do all of ours log cabin style, teepee style. We can go down there, but it's getting dark in the shade of the trees. You wouldn't be able to see much. But some of these logs that we inoculated about 5 years ago, we'd given up on, they're cranking. They're just absolutely cranking. So, folks, you can raise your own food. In today's, you see all these shortages and people not being able to buy what they want. There's no excuse for not having mushrooms, especially if you live in the, where you have any kind of rainfall at all. Even if you don't have rainfall, you can soak the log and you'll grow mushrooms. So the minute you soak them overnight, 12 hours, you take them out, and it can't be in chlorinated water. It's got to be in either rainwater or pond water. Soak them overnight, right down the counter when you soak them, and in 7 days, those logs would just explode with mushrooms. Now, this is a log that would need to be inoculated for a minimum of 7 months. You can't get mushrooms out of a log you've only inoculated 3 months. We've never tried that. One thing about that, it's called force fruiting. You force fruit that log. It shortens the life of your log severely because you're using up all the food in that log a lot faster. But
and it's a lot of work too.
It's a lot of work force fruiting because you put the log in the water. When you pull it out, it's like 3 times heavier. It's soaked in water. So we just like we'd stack them up in teepees. I think we've got, with the 500 we did this spring, I think we're at 2,500 logs now. And each log on a good fruiting, you can get 1 pound of mushrooms per log. Well, if you do the math on that, it depends where you're selling them at, you know, where your market's at. Here in the Midwest, you know, Jan's selling to grocery stores, health food stores.
A few restaurants.
$9
a pound.
$9 a pound. So if you do the math on, well, if we just did, to keep it all simple, 1,000 logs at a pound fruiting, and they can do that about twice a year normally, that's about $18 a log. So that's $1,800. Is that right? Yeah, no, that'd be $18,000. Yeah.
But this year we didn't have the
if you had 1,000 logs, you got $18 a log. It's 18,000. This year we've had one really good fruiting, but it's been a heavy fruiting, so it doesn't matter. I mean, if you don't want to sell them, that's fine. It's just another income source on your farm. But you can eat these. They're really good. If you saute this in butter and a little bit of garlic or maybe a little sliced onion, and you eat that mushroom, it's like eating steak. It's that good. It's yeah, and it's all natural. It comes off your land. It grows on an oak log. Now you can use other logs. We recommend field and forest. That's where we get our spawn from. And there's a table in there. They tell you which logs or which species of trees grow shiitakes, which species of trees grow oyster mushrooms, and lion's mane. There's a whole bunch of different mushrooms. But shiitakes are the easiest for us. We're busy. We got the cattle thing going, the sheep. We're just a lot of different moving parts on the farm. But I'll give you this little tip. When you build your mushroom laying yard, when you finally get the logs inoculated, go back in our series. We've got videos on it. Summer did last spring, matter of fact. Don't put your laying yard very far from your house where you can walk by and check on it. If you stick it on the back 40 somewhere, down along a creek or something, that may be a good place for it, but you're not going to find them. Because if you don't go by and check on them at least every 4 or 5, 6, 7 days, you're going to miss probably 70% of your production. They're just going to fruit without you. And by the time you find them, they're no good. So what Jan and I did, we came in tonight. We've got a rain coming at midnight tonight. It's 90, would you say 95%?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good chance of rain. So what we did is we cut mushrooms like this, little guys.
Show them the other one, the big one. Well,
That's the comparison. These little ones, if they get rained on tonight, folks, they're no good for selling. Customers don't want them because they turn a darker color, and so you might as well cut them. Just get them cut while they're fresh and they haven't been. Rain is the enemy of a mushroom.
And even if you dehydrate them, they are denatured in color.
Yeah,
they're brown.
Yeah, it just changes the color of them. So it's a wonderful product. It's another product we can raise on our farm. And there's nothing wrong with having another income stream on your farm, folks.
Especially it's wood that we
cut up into firewood. Or it could be limb wood that you just push into a brush pile for your rabbits, or maybe you bid you grind it into wood chips or whatever. But you can take wood, folks, and grow food for years. So once you inoculate the log, you don't ever have to re-inoculate it again. Just keep it in the shade of a tree. And I used to water them. When I first started, man, I had water set up out there, and I had a lake. I had my pump down the lake, and I'd spray them about every 2 weeks if it didn't rain. Just a lot of work. These things are tough. You don't need to do that. Because there's logs out there now that are producing that went through some major droughts, and they're cranking again. They're kicking out mushrooms. So it's not a huge labor deal. Now, the labor comes in getting the log cut and inoculating them.
And bringing them in.
That's right. But once you get them inoculated, you don't ever have to do it again. It's a one-time deal.
Then after you get through stacking it, then 7 months later, you make a teepee.
There's a major step in between that I want to tell you all that we were not told. when you get done inoculating the logs and you've got them stacked up, you want to stack them as tight as you can so the airflow can't get through them. You don't want airflow through your stack of logs, it dries them out. Stack them in tight in shade, and then put a shade cloth, a breathable shade cloth, over the top of your logs, or otherwise, every hole you drill to put this spawn in, the woodpeckers will come along and pick it out. They will. They'll clean every log out. I learned that the hard way, and luckily I only did 40 logs, but I ended up having to re-inoculate 40 logs. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. It's getting dark out here, and we're going to get these mushrooms taken care of, and we'll see you next time. Hit that subscribe button on the way out, and y'all have a great day.